where I want the color of the video to be, where it puts me, where I want it, where it puts me. What's going on, viewers? This is Sack Views. I am Sack, and today we are talking about the movie Ruby Sparks. Brought to you by the directing duo that directed Little Miss Sunshine, Ruby Sparks is a Pygmalion type tale where the writer envisions his dream girl in written fiction but is soon materialized in life as a real person, a person that he is able to control by simply writing more to her story. The plot in this film felt very symmetrical, comparable to books I have read like I Am the Cheese or The Outsiders, where I was taken in with a particular set of plot point stair steps and then led down those same steps in reverse order at the end of the book. The movie was not only well written but beautifully filmed, for watching this movie felt to me very similar to finding symbolisms and foreshadowing that you would get in novels. For instance, the lead character of the film, Calvin, is a stereotypical novelist, introverted and a little bit narcissistic. He gets a dog to be a segue into conversation with other people, but instead the dog becomes a token of his insecurities, an excuse to be unsociable. But as soon as Ruby's introduction into the story, she replaces the dog as his original intended purpose, and Calvin's personal world is ripped out of the house and he begins a social life. And I love the visual call to Ruby being a character of fiction. If it isn't being said, it's shown through the contrasting colors between her clothing and Calvin's house. The walls are irritatingly white, his furniture is all dull, near colorless, earthy tones, and the only two things that stand out in vibrant color are Ruby's clothing and Calvin's collection of books. This consistently reminds me that she hails from a world very different from Calvin's, but a world that he is well informed and subconsciously calling out for. Now, the movie felt well paced. There wasn't any moment that seemed out of place or forced. Scenes that were set up to be plot development later happened in a casual manner, and it didn't give away that it was going to be set up for story development. The moral of this movie cannot be ignored. It was, of course, the messages in this movie put out that wants me to give it such a high rating. And the moral of the story is, be yourself and let others be themselves. Calvin has written a famous novel that has, in the eyes of his readers, earned him the title of genius, a term that he loathes but aspires to live up to. His low self-respect turns him into a shut-in, antisocial control freak that tries to rule every aspect of his life. When Ruby comes into his life, he feels free, but only for a brief time. It isn't long before he uses his unique situation to control Ruby's life, and in doing so, it wrecks her personality and becomes different than what she was originally written like. I feel the story very bluntly shows what happens to people who, willingly and unwillingly, let others control their lives. And the dark ending in this movie shows the pinnacle of that, but I won't give too much away. The last point I want to make isn't really my point at all, but it's worth putting into the review because it adds an outer look into the morals of this film. An important issue involving actresses in Hollywood that is portrayed in a unique way by Zoe Kazan. While both writing and playing Ruby in the film gives an interesting look in how tropes of female stars turn them into manic pixie dream girls and are often toyed with during productions for the sake of other character developments rather than their own. This is an excerpt out of Roger Ebert's review of this movie that I feel explains it the best. I imagine most people seeing Ruby Sparks will consider it to be about a writer and his fictional creation. There may be another way to approach it. Zoe Kazan, of course, is an actress as well as a writer, and in her career she must have often felt tugged this way and by the fantasies and requirements of the men who wrote and directed her roles. Surely, one of the most dreaded things an actress can hear is, "We've made a few changes to your character." But if the characters have lives of their own on page, they also take on reality in the minds of those who portray them, and the finished character we see in film may be more of a compromise than anyone's personal vision. Zoe Kazan ultimately writes a character in the story, which in turn is being written by the story, a great message worthy of my highest rating. Ruby Sparks is a movie I plan on owning. That's it for my review. If you have any thoughts, put them down in the box. If you disagree, tell me why. If not, tell me what your favorite part about the film is. I'm Sack. This was Sack Views. Happy viewing!